Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. So last time I made a video, I think I talked about my development of fibroids in my uterus and how that was causing me pain, and I was going to have to go through some surgical procedures and all that kind of stuff. So just as a heads up, I'm going to be going a little bit more into detail about what happened, my surgery, my recovery, that kind of thing. So there's going to be a little bit more medical stuff. So if you're, and especially, you know, even though I'm trans, I still have female anatomy, and so I will be using some female anatomical terms. So if that's at all triggering to you, like I said uterus just now, so sorry, but I will continue on that line of talk for at least part of this video. So just as a heads up for anyone who may not want to hear about me talking about female anatomical things. So but anyway, it's been almost 3 weeks now since I had all my procedures. They did a diagnostic laparoscopy. They did what was called a hysteroscopy with a D&C. And then they also did a salpingo ovarectomy. So I only had one ovary to begin with. The other one, which was taken out 18 years ago for another reason. I had a dermoid, long story. But so they took out the ovary and the fallopian tube. And they went and poked around and looked around and to look and see what else was going on with me. And I am going to be scheduled to get a full hysterectomy, so taking out the uterus and the cervix still. So I don't have ovaries anymore, but the other stuff is still in there, so we're going to take the rest of that out probably sometime in August. I know that's going to be like a 6-week recovery period for that, so I decided, you know what, I'm going to wait until August. That way I'll have time to publish my next book. It's the hottest month, so I won't mind being stuck inside in an air-conditioned house when it's so hot out. So for numerous reasons for me, I think August tends to be the most low-key month where I don't usually have a lot going on. So sitting around and recovering from surgery is not going to impact other things that I want to do. So that's the plan going forward. A couple of interesting notes. So I've had a lot of pain and issues with my reproductive system since I hit puberty. So it's been a long time. I've had a lot of different pain and everything. I've kind of had two sources of pain. One always came from my left ovary, and for the longest time we always thought that was the source of the pain. I know that there was a small cyst, a small mass that was growing in it. Well, growing. It had grown in it, but it kind of stopped. It was like 1.6 centimeters or something. It was pretty small, but it never got any bigger than that. And so we've been kind of keeping an eye on it for the last 20 years, and it's been there, and it was still there when they removed my ovary. And for the longest time we thought, well, that's the source of the pain. You know, you'd think that they would have taken the ovary sooner, but you know how women don't have body autonomy in this country. So as much as I wanted to have a hysterectomy, no one was going to give me one, because, you know, what if you want kids? Which, you know, obviously I don't. If any of you are regular viewers of mine, you know I've been child-free by choice forever, and I've actually, my most popular videos still is the one video I made about why I'm child-free in the first place. So anyhow, so finally, because I'm transitioning, finally doctors and any insurance are more amenable to my to having all of that stuff taken out and everything, which is, you know, thank goodness for that. But like I said, I had two sources of pain, and it turned out that my ovary actually wasn't the source of pain like we thought it was. And here's where I get a little bit into the a bit of TMI information. So, you know, warning that I'm going to talk a little bit about some more anatomy stuff here. But I had a part of my colon was adhered to. So this is the colon and this is the abdominal wall, and it was kind of like, it was attached to it. And my doctor was like, how the heck did that happen? You know, I could have been born with it for all I know. It's been there forever. Ever since I started puberty and started ovulating, every month that I ovulated on my left side, I always knew I was ovulating on the left side because it hurt. Never had that on the right side. It was the weirdest thing, and the doctors were like, oh, okay, it's got to be that mass over there. when they finally discovered there was that mass, they were like, okay, that's got to be the source of your discomfort. When, they say discomfort, I say pain. I would be doubled over in pain, and there was no pain medication that would get rid of it, because it was a very sharp pain, and it only happened when I moved. It wasn't like a continuous pain constantly. It was like if I stood up, if I sat down, if I moved a certain way, twisted a certain way, and also during sexual penetration, if anything angled to the left, it would hurt. And again, it was always on the left side. They thought it was the ovary, and they were like, but they still wouldn't take it out. Regardless of how much pain I had from it, they were like, no, we don't want, you already lost your right one, we can't take out the left one, because, again, what if you want kids? What if your future husband wants kids? Like this constant litany of like, I don't know my own body, I don't know my own mind, what if I change my mind one day? Anyway, I'm still very annoyed by all of this, but it turned out it wasn't that at all. That the piece of colon that was adhered to the abdominal wall, it was like on the other side of the ovary where they couldn't see it. So just looking at the ovary like they normally would, like it was on the other side of it. So taking out the ovary, that's what revealed this problem. And it was like, it was right by the ovary, so every time, because when you go through your period every month, when anyone who's assigned female at birth goes through their period after going into puberty and stuff, when you release an egg from your ovary, you get a cyst that forms, and it kind of balloons out, and then it releases the egg, and then the cyst goes away. At least that's how it's all supposed to work. But when my ovary would do that, it was hitting against this piece of colon that was adhered to my abdominal wall, and the colon was like, it was that, I have a photo of it, but I'm not going to show it, but it's like, it was like stretched really tight, and so, well, no wonder it hurt. It's like, well, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. After years and years and years and years of complaining about this and having doctors like pat me on the head, and I went through some doctors who said it was all in my head, it was psychosomatic, it was this and that and the other, just all this crap and everything, and it turns out it was a real issue. It was just hiding in there, and it wasn't easy to see without opening me up and looking and seeing what was going on in there. So I'm like, well then. So at least we figured that out. At least we now know what was going on, and she was able to fix it, and make it like unstuck and everything. So that's gone. I mean, the ovary's gone now too, but at least that piece is also fixed. So regardless, that source of pain is going to go away. The other source of pain, of course, has always been my uterus and my cervix. My cervix has always been ridiculously tender. Like anything goes anywhere near it, and I'm like, ow. So as you can imagine, that makes sex painful. Especially with partners who may be a little bit larger than normal. So I tended to always prefer smaller partners because of that. Same thing goes for any toys that I use, that kind of thing. It's just like, anything goes near it, and I'm just through the roof, and it's, obviously it hurts so much that there's, sex does not continue after that point. So, it's one of the reasons why I want to get rid of my cervix as well as the uterus, and with the uterus developing all of these fibroids and everything now, and just constant, like, I'm not even having periods anymore with the testosterone and things, and obviously with no ovaries, I'm not going to be having periods anymore. I'm already kind of going, it's going to push me further into the whole menopause thing, even though because with testosterone, it minimizes the symptoms to a degree. At least it has for me. I've been having menopausal symptoms for years, even before I started testosterone, so I haven't noticed any change in symptoms. And I have noticed since starting testosterone that I stopped having hot flashes for the most part. I've had a couple, but I used to have them almost every night before I took testosterone, and that kind of went away. My cycles went away, just all that kind of stuff. And so all I'm left with now is just constant cramping on a daily basis. And because I suffer from gastritis, So I'm taking ibuprofen to help with the cramps because Tylenol doesn't help with the cramps. But then I need to take Tylenol on top of that to help with the gastritis because the ibuprofen irritates my stomach. So I'm just in this constant cycle of taking pills because I don't know what else to do until they fix the problem. And the only way to fix the problem is to just take everything out. So that's what I'm going to be living with until August. I mean, on one hand, it would be nice to do it sooner, but at the other hand, I'm like, okay, just looking at my schedule, looking at what I need to do, looking at the recovery time for the surgery, because, 6 weeks is, a significant chunk of time to be sitting around on couches and beds and everything, just kind of chilling out and being a lazy lump for a while. And so, that's why I decided I'm gonna wait till August. Because it's just more convenient to do it that way. So I'm just going to have to deal with this cycle of just taking constant Advil and Tylenol over and over again until, just to get me through the day until I can get that taken care of. So, yay. And on top of that, right now I've got a situation where because of the D&C, and for anyone who doesn't know what a D&C is, I don't remember exactly what the D and the C stand for. If you just Google it, you can see what those words stand for. But basically what they do is, and excuse the language here, but they scrape the lining of the uterus. Because the uterus usually develops an endometrial lining of blood that's supposed to feed the baby if you become pregnant. And even though I really wasn't having periods, I still had a bit of lining that still had blood in it, and so they scraped all of that out. It's something that they actually do. It's most commonly done with abortions, but they also do it for diagnostic purposes. They do it for biopsies. They do it if you have, any signs of cancer, and there's a number of reasons. And obviously for me it was diagnostic, so they did a full scraping, cleaned everything out. But because of it, you do end up bleeding after the surgery, and normally you bleed for about a week, and it's been 3 weeks, and I'm still bleeding, and considering I'm transitioning and stuff, and I haven't had a period in almost 6 months, all of a sudden for 3 straight weeks of just constant bleeding, it's like, this is getting quite annoying. I wouldn't say this, well, is it triggering? I don't know. I don't know if it's a generational thing, but it's hard for me to get triggered about stuff. Or I have had things that are far more traumatic than this that trigger me, so this is kind of minor in comparison. But it's annoying. That's my point. It's annoying, and I was like, well, gee, if I'm still bleeding, is that a problem? Am I not healing properly? Like, what's going on? So talked to the doctor, and she said, well, it's maybe it's just taking you a little longer to heal. Give it another week. And if it doesn't clear up, then we'll put you on progesterone. What? I'm taking testosterone to change away from being a woman. I don't want to start taking female hormones again. That's the kind of the point of what I'm doing right now. So my first thing is, thankfully with my endocrinologist, I can actually send him emails. So I sent him an email and saying, by the way, this is going on, and this is what my gynecologist was recommending, and what do you think about this? Since he's the one that's treating me with the testosterone and everything, and he's an endocrinologist, so I'm like, I'd like your opinion on this, and if you think this is not the right course of action, could you talk to my gynecologist, please? Because I'd rather have the two professionals talking to each other rather than one professional conveying something to me, and I have, can you guys talk to each other? Thankfully, I'm also having an annual checkup with my GP next week, and so I'll talk to her as well and mention it and see what her take is on it before I proceed with anything. And this is assuming that the problem continues in the next week or not. I mean, it's been 3 weeks so far, hasn't cleared up yet, so we'll see what happens. But anyhow, that's pretty much where I'm at with all of my medical stuff. Now, with everything going on, for anyone who's following the news and all of Trump's things against trans people and everything else, and they're constantly ramping back on healthcare for trans people and for Medicaid in general for everybody. I know that they cut, a huge chunk out of Medicaid, and I'm currently on Medicaid, so I'm like, oh crap, so now that's not going to affect Medicaid this year, but the cuts that they're doing this year will affect next year. So I'm like, okay, I think maybe I need to do something about all of my other surgeries. So the hysterectomy and stuff I can easily get done as a medical need at this point. I have enough medical, like that's what the diagnostics and stuff for. So I'm not worried about getting the hysterectomy. That will happen regardless. But I'm thinking about my top surgery, and I'm like, with everything going on politically in this country, I might need to go ahead and try and get my top surgery scheduled this year if possible, just because I might not get coverage next year, and I would prefer not to have to pay out of pocket if I can avoid it. So we'll see about that. So that's my next hurdle is, talk to my endocrinologist, get a recommendation for a top surgeon, because obviously it's not something my gynecologist would do. And I think I'm gonna have to go down to Denver. Everyone I've talked to said that all of those kind of surgeries we don't really have one that specializes in top surgery where I live, so I'm gonna have to go down to Denver, which is an hour's drive from where I am, and so that's gonna be fun. Mainly because when and if I get the surgery, I'll have to get it done in Denver, which means I'm gonna need to have friends who could drive me down there, stay with me, drive me back up to where I'm at, and I love my friends, and I'm so glad that they're there for me when I need it, but I'm constantly begging them to drive me to these medical things, and because once you get out of surgery, you're all doped up on drugs and everything, and there's no way I can drive myself home. And with the top surgery, especially, even if I wasn't going to be on painkillers, which of course I am, there's no way you're going to be able to do a steering wheel and drive, and I'm just going to be sitting in the car miserable on the way home and stuff. So that's gonna be interesting. That's the only part I'm kind of dreading right now is having to deal with going in, getting the surgery, coming out, and coming home, and dealing with all that. And then because I think it's like a good 2 months recovery for the top surgery, and I'm gonna have to see the doctor for post-ops and follow-ups and that kind of thing to see how I'm healing, and I'm gonna need someone to drive me down to Denver multiple times for that. So that's whoever is going to be tasked with this, or whichever group of people are going to be tasked with this, I'm going to owe them big time. So I have to think about the right thing. Do I cook them all a really good meal? Do I give them gift cards to their favorite stores? I've got to figure out some way of really thanking them other than just saying thank you, because that's gonna be a lot to ask of someone to do that. If I had a partner or something in my life who they're out of love for me, they could do this. If my husband was still around, he'd be the one doing it, but obviously he's not. Therefore I have to kind of lean on my friends, and I'm just grateful that I have such good friends who are so understanding and caring and willing to go out of their way to help me out and stuff. So anyhow, yeah, so that's basically where I'm at with everything about me. Quick update about my dog. He had his x-rays last week, and his cancer has not spread, which is great. His tumor, it's hard to tell if the tumor has come back or not. I have seen some growth of something on his head, but the doctor said there's a good chance that some of that could be some bone remodeling rather than just the tumor coming back. We are expecting the tumor to grow back at some point, because as much as they could, they did the radiation, they did the chemotherapy, they treated it as best as they could, but it's impossible to get rid of all of it without destroying his, because it was right by his optic nerve and right by the brain, and so they were trying very hard not to destroy his brain or his optic nerve in the process, because that would have, well, being blind in one eye wouldn't have been so bad for him, but destroying his brain and everything, well, at that point, where's the quality of life at that point? And so you know, it's a balancing act right now. But he's, you know, at the moment he's kicking butt with the cancer, and he's doing real well. He's just being a cute, happy dog. I mean, he's 9 years old now. He and his sister both, and they're both doing real great for their age and for you know everything that Joey's going through and everything. So I'm really proud of how well he's dealing with all of this. So. And with my books and everything, my next novel, it's getting real close to done. I had hoped to publish it in April. It might end up not being until May, just because it's taking my beta readers a little longer to get back to me with the next round of beta reads. And then I'm going to need to do at least 2 or 3 more rounds of edits and stuff before I feel like it's ready for me to publish. So, but watch out for an announcement for that. There will be another novel out there under my pen name Grayson Bell within the next, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks at the most. Hopefully sooner. You know, I'd like it to be sooner, but we'll see. So, anyway, thanks for sitting around and hearing all my updates and everything, and maybe I'll do another topical video in the near future. And until next time, take care. Bye.